In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, I am very grateful to God that we are able to meet in person. Unfortunately, last year I couldn't travel despite having my ticket and visa, everything ready, but because of illness of my son, I could not be with you in person. But Alhamdulillah, I am now with you in person. And our topic is hope, especially in the eschatological sense about end of time. And I ask God for assistance and guidance so that I can do justice. Hope and faith are very closely connected with each other. Like for example, there are signs for life. For example, if you want to know someone is alive or dead, for example, you test the blood, pressure or heart beating, etc., breathing. So these are signs of life. I think signs of faith will certainly include hope. If you have hope, you have faith. If you have faith, you have hope. I cannot think that someone has faith and no hope. Maybe for a short period of time when you are overwhelmed with the problems, so there is attack of despair. But a faithful person, someone who believes in God, would never become hopeless. God always gives us hope because we believe in a God who is full of love, full of mercy. At the same time, he has knowledge and the power, so he can intervene whenever needed. We cannot determine when God should intervene, but we have hope that whenever is needed, he can intervene. We don't believe that God created the world and retired. Maybe some people think God created the world and left it to itself. But this is not our understanding. The Quran says, some people said God's hands are tied and God cannot do anything. But we say no, God is every day at work. And day doesn't mean 24 hours, it means any time. كل يوم هو في شأن. Every time, every moment, God is at work. He is not retired. Also, he is not too busy so that he would not understand my problems and my call and ask for assistance. When it comes to God, we believe that God has full and complete attention to every person. God doesn't divide his attention. We human beings maybe cannot pay attention to different things at the same time, unless they come under one title. But if I want to have independent attention, it's very difficult. I know women are better in paying attention to different things than men, but even women cannot pay independent attention to too many things. You have to take care of something, finish it, and do another thing if you want to do it properly. But God is different. God has full attention and care for every person and indeed every creature. We have this in one of narrations that God says, I treat you as I have only you. Yeah, he treats each of us as he has no other servants. But unfortunately, we treat him as if we have other gods. Yeah, it's very unfair. He has billions of people, but treats everyone as a unique servant, as if he has no other things to do. Day and night, you want to be with God, he is with you. He never, says, I have other things to do. Let me go. He's always with you, as long as you want. But unfortunately, we are not the same with God. Either we say, God, let me finish other things, then I come to you. Or you say, God, let us finish soon, and then I want to do other things. Not everyone is able to be day and night with God. Of course, mystics can do, but many people cannot be day and night with God. So, with such understanding of God, who is full of love, mercy, in a very exceptional way for every servant, we shouldn't worry. We worry too much because either we forget God or we are too much taken away by small things that distract us. For us, it's very difficult to think how does such a mess can be, reformed and corrected by God. But we should know that for God, nothing is difficult. Everything is easy for God. If I go to another country and I am alone, I don't know people, I don't know the language, I don't know the culture, and even what makes it worse, maybe I have heard that there is no security in that country, etc. I feel very worried. But if I travel to a country that belongs to my people, and head of that country is also my father, and all the people there who are at work are his agents, then I shouldn't worry. For a believer, this world is where they should feel very comfortable because God is in charge and his agents are in charge. Although he lets people who don't believe in God or don't obey God also to have some activities, but they are not going out of control. Sometimes maybe some criminals, they think no one is watching them, no one is able to stop them, not knowing that they are under watch, and in the right time they will be stopped. So, if we have such understanding of the world and God and his forces and his agents, we should not be worried about our problems. There is only, I think, one genuine worry for a believer. The rest I don't think is needed, is necessary. The only genuine worry is, am I living according to his expectations? Am I able to comply with his will? I don't have worry about enemies. I don't have problem about, difficulties of life because I have him. My worry is not to do something or not to believe something or not to be a person that he doesn't like. So our third Imam, Imam Hussein, says that in his dua of Arafah, which was just about 9 days ago, it was the anniversary of that day. We celebrated the 9th of Dhul Hajjah, which is one of the very important highlights of the pilgrimage to Mecca, but also for us worldwide a day of prayer. So if we want to call in Shia culture a day of prayer, I think everyone would agree that we should say 9th of Dhul Hajj is the day of Arafah, yeah? International day for Arafah for us. So Imam Hussein in that dua says to God, "Oh God, the one who has you, what does he lack?" Very simple question. If someone has God, what he lacks? And the one who doesn't have you, what does he have? Yeah, if I have God, I have everything. If I don't have God and I have money, I have family, children, power, it's useless. So our focus should be on fixing issues first inside us. People who don't have faith are troubled with external issues, they lose hope, etc. They complain, they nag. Sometimes even they reject God. They say God doesn't exist, otherwise God should have stopped these issues. As you know, one of the main arguments against existence of God that they make is the problem of evil. Say, if God is omnipotent, if God has all the knowledge, power, love, He's benevolent, why there is such variety of problems in the world? So our approach is different. When I say our, I mean not only Muslims, I think believers in God, and I hope I am right in saying that this is common between us, but you can comment if you think it's not the same. But I think our approach is that God is in charge. God is the source of all the beauty. And we don't have an opposite source. Some people suffer from dualism. They think God is the source of goodness and Satan is the source of badness. God is the source of light, Satan is the source of darkness. As if then the world is, divided between God and Satan. But this is not correct. We have only one source, and that is for light and beauty and goodness, and that's God. There is no opposite authority, opposite source or provider. There is no one to challenge God. It's only God and God. Yes, God has let Satan to have some time to bring his temptations. He cannot create anything. He has no control to force you to be bad. It's not that half of the world is under Satan or 10% of the world is under Satan. There is nothing under Satan except illusion and temptation for people miss the truth. And the plots of Satan, the Quran says, are very weak. إِنَّ كَيْدَ الشَّيْطَانِ كَانَ ضَعِيفًا. Because sometimes we portray Satan as someone that we cannot resist. To justify our failure, as if Satan is so clever and so intelligent that no one can run away from his plans. This is not the case. Satan is not very clever or intelligent. We are unfortunately not listening to God, not taking lessons from history, repeating mistakes of others and even mistakes of ourselves again and again. Shaitan's plans are not new, are as old as history of mankind. The same plan, just maybe new wrapping, but all the things that he has to use to misguide and bring temptations are the same. So, our concern is not about the world, is not about power of love of God being limited, of Satan and satanic people, vicious people, be too powerful. We don't have such problems. We know that this world has limitations. We know that this world is not capable of showing all the power of God, all the beauty of God, all the mercy of God, because this world is a physical world and God has so much of love and beauty and mercy that this world cannot contain. In a hadith, we find that it says, only 1 in 100%, 1 in 100 of God's mercy is distributed in this world. And we see all the love in this world. All the mothers, all the fathers, all the siblings, all the people, all the love that they have for each other, all the animals, for example, who have love for their children, whatever, all the love that we have in this world throughout centuries is only 1 in 100 of God's love and mercy. 99% is in the hereafter. Because this world has no capacity to receive more. If you have an ocean and a container or even a tank, how much you can put? It's not possible to put. So, we have realistic expectations of this world. We never expect this world to be free from problems or troubles or shortcomings. But we are at the same time sure that God has power and means to intervene. If this channel, through whom or through, I don't know, it, sometimes a human being, sometimes can be an object. For example, the land that I am farming, or the person who is supposed to pass on my sustenance. If this channel is narrowed by greediness, for example, of the people who are here, or by shortage of rain or whatever, God has the ability to open for me another channel, maybe even wider. So I should never be despaired. This doesn't mean that it's going to certainly happen, because God has wisdom and He checks all things together. So if needed, He can intervene. Otherwise, He would help me morally, spiritually, and would compensate for the things that I wanted and I didn't receive. And our hadith says that God gives so much to the people whose prayers were not answered in this world, that they wish none of their prayers were answered. Of course, this is for worldly requests. For example, for food, money, house, I don't know, marriage, whatever. For some reason, it was not possible to give you in this world, was not your best interest. Then God gives you so much that you say, I am very happy that you didn't give me what I wanted. And also about suffering, we have hadith that when people see what gives them for their suffering in this world, they wish their body was made into pieces by Caesar in the world. They wish they had suffered more, because they would be richer on the day of judgment. So, our problem that we should focus on is mainly to purify our heart, to get rid of limitations in our heart and mind, to free ourselves from any attachment that would not let God to settle in my heart. You know, God is very great, yeah? God is greater than the skies and the earth. But there is one thing only that God says can contain me. Yeah? We have a beautiful divine saying that God says, La yasa'uni ardi wa la samai. Neither my earth nor my sky can contain me. Walakin yasa'uni qalbu abdiyal mu'min. But the heart of a believing servant of mine can contain me. Okay? So you can allow God to come completely. Not, God, you cannot, divide God as a God, only part of you should come. God completely comes to your heart if you allow. Is this something that you do it, you offer to God? No, actually, this is the real place that belongs to God. Because another divine saying says, Al-qalbu haramullah. There's another hadith which says, the heart is the sanctuary of God. Don't let anyone other than God settle in this place. So, if we work and free our hearts from attachments to other things, it would be a very good place for God to settle. And if our heart is a place which is sanctuary of God, then it would be always at peace. Can you imagine a place in which there is God and then there is also fear or worry? It's impossible. As a child, when, for example, your father and mother are next to you, you feel very safe, yeah? Or sometimes, whole family, wife, children, if father is there, the husband is there, they feel safe. If, for example, we have good government and police and army, we feel safe. If God is in your heart, should you have any worry? You should be at peace. Therefore, the Quran says, "Inna awliya Allah la khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun." Those who are friends of God, those who are under the guardianship of God, they have no fear and no grief. The late Imam Khomeini, who was also a jurist and a philosopher, but a mystic also, has a very moving statement that for me, from beginning of my study in seminary, was always inspiring, but also embarrassing. When I check with what he says about myself. He said, "I have never feared anyone in my life except God." He was an orphan. He saw lots of hardship in his life, but said, "I never feared anyone." Even when 15 years before revolution, the security police of the regime went to arrest him and take him from Qom to Tehran. He says, "I checked my heart, there was no fear." And the security people were very frightened that if people who loved Imam Khomeini realized, they would stop and attack. So they were very worried. Imam Khomeini used to give them, words that could comfort them. Don't worry. So imagine someone says to the police who are arresting him, "Don't worry, don't fear." So, because he has no worry, because he's sure that God is with him. When was beginning of Iraq war, when Saddam Hussein attacked Iran, it was a surprise because it was just several months after victory of revolution. And then Saddam Hussein attacked Iran. And there was a moment that one of our very important cities in southern Iran, which is a port, it's very important, Khorramshahr, was captured by Iraqi army. So the person who was in charge of the province of Khuzestan called the house of Imam Khomeini, and he said, I have very important news to say to the leader. They said he has started preparation for his prayer, for Salat. He said, no, I must talk to him right now. So they said, okay. They gave the phone to Imam Khomeini, and he said, unfortunately, the city has collapsed. Imam Khomeini said, this is war and these things happen. Khuda Hafiz. Allahu Akbar. Then he started his prayer. For us, it's impossible, not to panic. But for him, this was very easy. Because he looks at the things from a different perspective. We don't see God at work. We see only people at work, so we get worried. But if you look from that perspective, everything is okay. Everything is under control. Just make sure you do your things properly. Don't worry too much. So, therefore, a sign of faith is having always hope and always being positive, always seeing the big picture. And the big picture is always beautiful. Never big pictures in this world are ugly. When we see ugly things, it's because either our eye is not clean, there is something covering our vision, or we are focusing on some details and we are not able to make sense of them. Yeah? Then we think, for example, imagine if you are, instead of looking at the map of the city, you only see, for example, a prison. You say, why there is prison? It's better to make other things. But even this prison in this large city is needed. Or, we may have, for example, in a map of a house, a toilet. You say, oh, you made only a toilet? Yes, I made a toilet, but I made also other things. Why you just look at toilet? And some people think toilet is useless, but in a house, you need toilet, yeah? So, there was a great Ayatollah in Mashhad, Ayatollah Milani, and someone went to him, and he said, I have some money, and I want to do a very good project for the sake of God. Agha said, I have a kind of idea for you, but you might be receiving lots of criticism. Okay? He said, it's not a problem. If I do the right thing and you are happy, it's okay. So city of Mashhad has a shrine, and there are, always many, many pilgrims who go. And in that time, the shrine was not as big as now and didn't have all the facilities that now it has. So Agha said, make some public toilets. Buy a piece of land close to the shrine and make some public toilets. He listened and he made it. Then some people started criticizing. His money must have some problem. That now it is used to make toilets. Why it's not used to make a mosque? Why he didn't spend money on making a school? So, when people don't see the whole picture, they judge like this. And many times we make the same mistake because we don't see the picture as God sees and as people who are tuned to God and His will and His wisdom can see. So therefore we have problems. Anyway, we should have always hope, and we should always feel safe, and we should always give each other encouragement. One of the major sins in Islamic understanding is despair from mercy of God. Al-Ya'su and Ruhullah. If I say, God is never forgiving me, God is never helping me, God is never, guiding me, this is a major sin. Some hadiths say that if someone has killed, as a just example, has killed tens of prophets, not even ordinary people, tens of prophets, and he says, God is not forgiving me. If I repent, God is not forgiving me. The hadith says this sin is greater than killing those prophets. Why? Can you guess why? Pardon? Yeah, so why despair is so bad? Because despair doesn't let you to correct. God always wants us to think that we can go back to Him. God never closes the door. Even if you run away from God, God keeps the door open for you. God loves the servants who have run away from Him to go back. In a hadith, God says, لو علم المدبرون عني كيف اشتياقي بهم لماتوا شوقا. If those servants of mine who have turned their back to me, if they knew how much I am eager for them to come back, they would have died out of joy. So God always wants us to go back and correct ourselves. Therefore, despair is very destructive, because when you are despaired, you don't do anything to improve. Therefore, it's a weapon of Satan. Satan, before committing sins, says something, and after committing sins says something else. One of our ulama has this beautiful point. He says, Satan has a double policy. Before committing sins, he says, do it. God will forgive you. Yeah? You are young, then you become older, you can repent and, have a life of piety, etc. Now enjoy your younghood and, don't worry. But when you commit the sin, says, you are never forgiven. That was so bad that you're never forgiven. Just continue doing bad things. Because it's not going to help you. So, despair is one of the weapons of Satan. Hope is one of our biggest capitals. In Dua Kumel, we say to God, Irham. Oh God, please have mercy on someone whose capital is hope and whose weapon is crying. So the tears that come to your eyes are the most powerful weapon. And the best capital is hope. When you want to work with God, when you want to do business with God, you need capital. Yeah? Any person, you say, I want to do business with you, I want to trade with you. He says, what is your capital? What is our capital that we can take to God and say, I want to work with you, help me please? What capital we have? Hope. our capital is not our actions. Yeah? I cannot say my capital is my prayer, my fasting, my charity work, because these are the things that are all done with the blessings of God, with the help of God. We are not sure about their quality, we are not sure about the sincerity. And for a servant of God to say to God that, I have these valuable things and these are the things that I have done for you, is very childish. No saint would say, I am proud of my prayers and fasting. Every saint would say, I feel I have not done enough. I feel I have not been able to show gratitude to 1 in a million of the blessings of God. But we have something that we can be proud of. Something that we can take as our capital. What is that? Hope. رأس ماله الرجاء. Because someone who is very honorable, very generous, honorable, gentleman, we call Karim. Do you have Karim in Swahili? If someone is very generous and honorable? Karim. What does it mean? The same thing? Yes. So, if someone is Karim, and you go to him or her, or Karima. So a lady can be a lady, can be a... Okay? So if you go to house of a Karim and say, I have a problem. For example, my child is ill. I don't have food. Yeah, I don't have job. I cannot register in the school. You have some problem. You go to Karim, someone who is very generous, honorable person. What does Karim tell you? If it's a person who is not Karim, say, it has nothing to do with me. You have come to the wrong place. Go to that charity or go to that place. Why you have come to me? Yeah? If someone is not generous, would say, why you have come to me? If someone is a person who is mean, even get angry. Said, why you have come to my house? You disturbed me. Not only they don't help you, even they criticize, why you have disturbed me. But if someone is really Karim, would feel that now that you have come with hope to my home, I am under some obligation to help you. You have now some right over me. You have not done anything for him, but you have just gone with hope, because Karim never wants to disappoint anyone. If someone is really Karim, even if he doesn't have something, says, please wait, I can borrow from my neighbor and sort out your problem. Later I sort out with my neighbor. Therefore, in our prayers and supplications, we find great emphasis is put on going to God with hope. Because we know God is not disappointing people who go to Him with hope. Even those who don't know Him, He gives them. Even those who don't ask, He gives them. Then what about someone who goes with hope and knocks His door? It's impossible. Therefore, we have in a dua that قرعت باب رحمتك بيد الرجاء. I knocked the door of your mercy with the hand of my hope. So with the hand of hope, I knocked your door. It's impossible that God would not open the door for you. So hope is considered to be as our capital, as something that if you take it to God, you will receive His favorable response. Another thing that confirms this is what we have in our hadith about having good opinion of God. Husnul dhanne billah. You should always think about God and His decisions and His actions in the best way that you can. And thinking like this makes the chance of getting what you want even more. So if you go to Karim, don't say, I'm sure that he's not going to help me. You are insulting Karim by saying, so you are going to his door, but you are not in your heart meeting him. When you go to God, you should always think that He would do the best for me. Therefore, Imam Raza alayhi salam said, God acts according to what you think. In khayran fa khayrun, wa in sharran fa sharrun. If you say God is going to forgive me, there is great chance that He's forgiving you. If you say God is not going to forgive me, there is great chance He doesn't forgive you. And in some lectures I have explained what is the reason behind this. Because you may say, whether I think positively or negatively, God should give me. But the answer is that it's deeper than this. If you think God is not going to help you, it shows that you are a person who is not helping others. If you think God is not kind, it means that you are not kind. How can a person who forgives others easily and helps, with their problems, how can then he think that God is not going to help me? It's impossible. So those who think that God is not forgiving them, it's because either they have not known God and or they have not been forgiving people. A good person never thinks negatively about God, never thinks in a negative way about God. So, for us, we have all the reasons to be hopeful and feel calm. But in the end of time, challenges may be much more than before. And I think we have to prepare ourselves, and actually for generations our communities have been preparing themselves for challenges that will be greater than before. There are many challenges that would happen before coming of Imam Mahdi and Jesus, before we have universal fraternity, we have peace, we have justice. Before that, and close to that, we are told that many problems happen in the world. This world has never been free from troubles and problems and limitations, because the physical world, material world, cannot be perfect. If you want perfection, go to heaven, please. Here is not a place for perfection. But the thing is that going to heaven has to go through this world. So be patient. So, the problems have always been there, but the problems will increase and multiply just before everything is sorted out. What we find in our text, in our hadith, is that the world would be filled with injustice. There would be lots of corruption. Moral corruption, spiritual corruption, deviation, divisions, wars. So it's very worrying. We realize from these texts that to remain a true believer would need great deal of determination. If you are not careful, you may lose your faith. And we already see many people have lost their faith. Maybe never we have had in the last 2,000-3,000 people so many atheists. Yeah, we have great percentage of atheists now. And if you go back 100 years, 200 years ago, maybe more than 90% of people were, believers. So to be faithful is difficult. To be focused, to be not distracted by all the attractions which are there and distractions which are there, it's difficult. But on the other hand, there are things that give us hope. So even these challenges of Akhirul Zaman, end of the time, should not take away your hope. First of all, why? Because what we said about the reason for hope is universal. God is always there, so I shouldn't worry. But you need to, charge yourself more with power of faith in this time, because you see so many problems. Number one. Number two, the one problem is also in the past. If you go 100 years ago, how many problems you could see? Only in your village or town, and at most, for example, when passengers come, you hear something about. But here, right now, any bad things that happen in any part of the world, we hear. So many bad news to receive. Yeah? And unfortunately, many of media outlets, they don't have interest in good news. Good news is no news. Yeah? They only want to spread bad news, and they try to make it as tragic as possible because it's the way that people read. And they have to increase. So anything more violent is better for them. So now we have, mashallah, many sisters, Muslims, Christians, having good time together. Media has no interest in this. But now if one of you fight with another one, in 5 minutes all of them come. Yeah? Just, you don't need to call, just put your camera on and Facebook or Insta, then they will come themselves. Because they are thirsty for bad news. So, if we do lots of good things together, not many people have interest, unless we have our own media. A media that spreads good news. How many people are doing good things? Many people. Many people are doing lots of charity work. But they don't receive that much attention. Anyway, this is a world that all the problems are coming to you. In any part of the world. Also, you are aware through internet, through books, etc., of all the problems of the past. For example, if you lived with a Christian peacefully in your village, there was a great chance that you didn't know that some Christians and Muslims were fighting for centuries in crusades. You didn't know, but now you know everything. Yeah, so it's very easy to be disheartened. Plus, now the scientists tell us about problems that are going to happen in future. We will have crisis of environment. Yeah? Of course, it's good to know to prevent, but I'm saying it adds to your worry. Some of these, movies that you watch about global warming doesn't let you to enjoy your life. Yeah, you get very worried. So, we live in a world that it's very easy to become hopeless. Especially when it comes to the level of injustice that we see in the world. If you see that for almost 2 years, few millions of men, women, old people, children are, being attacked and, killed and bombarded in Gaza, it's very difficult not to become hopeless. Because what is happening? I cannot understand. We thought we are civilized people. We thought we have United Nations. We thought we have, International Court of Justice. But in front of our eyes, innocent people are killed and people who have power don't do anything. So it's very easy to become hopeless. But we don't think that we as believers should be ever hopeless. Indeed, our hadith teaches us that this is a very beautiful hadith from the Prophet. كن لما لا ترجو أرجى منك لما ترجو. Whenever you have less hope, then be more hopeful. Whenever you think things are going too wrong, expect that that might be a good time for God's intervention. So the example that we have in the hadith, because hadith gives example, is like Moses. When Moses was traveling with his family in a very cold and dark night, he was worried about safety of his family. His most important concern was security of his family, to take them safely somewhere. Then all of a sudden he noticed fire on the side, and he said to his family, the Quran says فَقَالَ لَأَهْلِهِمْ كُثُوا إِنِّي آنَسْتُ نَارًا. He says to his family, stay here, I saw a nice friendly fire and I will go to check. Either I bring some fire, or maybe I can find a guidance for where we have to go in this dark night. And as you know, it was the time that for the first time he received revelation from God. And God talked to Moses and said, I have chosen you. So listen to what is being revealed. أَنَا اخْتَرْتُكَ فَاسْتَمِعْ لَمَا يُوحَى. I have chosen you. O Moses, I have chosen you. Listen to what is being revealed to you. So, in the most difficult time, Moses received the best gift of God, and that is to become a prophet and being chosen by God. Or the magicians. You have this story of magicians who went to compete with Moses. When Pharaoh, in the Bible you have, yeah? So in the Quran says that when Moses and his brother Aaron went to see Pharaoh, they also showed miracles that God, empowered Moses to bring a stick which was becoming a dragon or a snake, and his hand that when he was putting under his other hand and coming out becomes shining. So Pharaoh said, this is magic. And he thought he is very clever. He said, I will defeat you. But I want it to happen in front of people, not just in the palace. So he said, on a day that is the day of feast and everyone would come to the same place, I will bring the best magicians of the country. Okay? And you will compete in front of people, and you will lose. So these magicians, in Islam and maybe in Christianity also, I think it's the same. It's not good to do magic. Yeah, in Islam also, if Christianity is the same, yeah. For us, it's good to learn how to cancel magic, but we shouldn't do magic. So these magicians were doing something wrong, and they came for a wrong purpose, because they came to please Pharaoh, to take some money, and to defeat prophet of God, Moses. Yeah, so there is nothing positive here. It's all darkness. Yeah, but when they saw the miracle of Moses, they were the first to admit that this is not magic. This is miracle. This is work of God. And Pharaoh got very angry because nothing can be worse than this. That you bring the best magicians and they say this is not magic. So he got very upset and he said, I am going to crucify you. And they said, La dhayra. Inna ila rabbina munqalun. They said, no problem. We don't bother. We have been transformed. We have converted to God. So these magicians went with all the darkness, all the bad reasons, but now, over a few minutes, they became devotees. They are ready for martyrdom. And they are supporting the cause of God. They are supporting Moses in the way that no one else at that time was able to support, apart from Harun. So, whenever you have no hope, you should be more hopeful, because that's the time that God may intervene. So whenever it is tragedy and you think it's reaching the peak, maybe that is also the beginning of solution. Yeah? And always, bad has a cycle. When it reaches the peak, then it starts to go to decline. When was the beginning of COVID, I had a meeting online with some of our brothers who are doctors or scientists, and I said I have no proof. Okay, I don't claim anything, but I said my understanding is that COVID cannot last for too long, because the way I understand God's work and system is that anything bad, after reaching some level, it goes down. This world is made in the way that would not tolerate a bad thing forever. Yeah? Any also system, any state, any regime that goes to the peak of violence and injustice automatically will go down. It's impossible to remain forever in that position. So, even in this time, we have to be very hopeful. Especially, there is another thing about God that helps us, is God is always there to help. God has all the power and all the agents to help. But when there are more problems, especially moral problems, corruption, injustice, darkness, then God is more supportive. At the times of difficulties, God is more supportive than ordinary times. So we should never think because there are too many challenges in the world, God is not able to help us, or God just helps us like previous generations. If our generation is faced with more challenges, be sure that God has more ways to support. If this is a time for division, unfortunately, and you are working for unity, you must know that God would support you more than someone who was working for unity 200 years ago. Because at that time, the world was not as dark as now, or the world was not as divided as now. So, God never let the darkness overweigh and overpower the light. If darkness gets spread, God supports also light to overcome. So just we need to make sure that we are on the right side. So God has lots of support for the people of our time. Let me read for you one hadith. This hadith is from our sixth Imam, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. He says, أقرب ما يكون العباد من الله جل ذكره وأرضى ما يكون عنهم إذا افتقدوا حجة الله. The time, the era in which God would be in the nearest position to his servants and would be most pleased with his servants is the time that they have no access to the God's representative, to the Hujjah of God. In the time of occultation, like now, before Imam comes. And God knows that these believers are not going to lose their faith. Otherwise, even he would not have tested them with this. He knows that they are capable of facing challenges in this time, and he's nearest to them and most pleased with them. It's very beautiful. أقرب ما يكون العبد من الله جل ذكره وأرضى ما يكون عنهم. And then Imam said, in this condition, توقع الفرج صباحا ومساء. Every day expect that relief, the delivery from problems can happen. Even not every day. In the morning, and if it doesn't happen, in the evening. So even if in the morning faraj didn't happen, don't lose your hope. Maybe in the evening happens. Means always be hopeful that God may change the situation and may honor us by coming off Imam Mahdi and Jesus. So, we have lots of reasons to be hopeful in this time. And one thing also which gives us more hope, I am going to finish, is to see that there are believers in this time that are very strong. In this time, then what you need for victory? Let me first raise it as a question. If, inshallah, God willing, we are on the side of truth and the side of light, and we see there are lots of problems in the world, what do you need?
To be strong.
Pardon?
To be strong.
Uh-huh. In what sense? Because some people may think to be strong means to have money, or to have weapons, or to have... Exactly. This time is the time that success doesn't depend much on materialistic means. Although it depends to some extent, but not very much, because if you have faith, hope, determination, you can make money and weapon and defeat the enemies. What is important is that you have to be determined. Therefore, the battle is battle of willpower. Whoever is more determined and acts wisely only for the sake of God and the truth shouldn't worry that we are little in number, or we have no money enough, or no resources enough. Don't worry about these things. Just make sure that you are acting wisely, you have right direction, you are associating with right people, and are determined. That's what you need. God takes care of the rest. So we have to be very hopeful. Alhamdulillah, I'm ending my lecture and I'm more hopeful than when I started my lecture. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.